You need about 1.5 yards of 45-inch wide fabric. You take your pattern piece, line it up with the fold, and you would trace it out. Mark your tab placement at the top, and you would mark where your buttonhole would be. You're going to take your ruler. It's a clear ruler, so you can see through it. You're going to line it up with this line, which is going to become your sewing line. And you're going to mark your seam allowance like it says in your pattern. And then, naturally, you would cut it out. For the back side, which is not on the fold, still following the grain line that you're using, you would put it down on your fabric so that it doesn't line up with the rest of this. Give yourself enough seam allowance and do the same thing. For the first step of the assembling of the back, is you're going to sew 2 pieces of this together. You do the same for the other side. So you would sew this. Open up your seam, and then with your iron, you're going to press the seam flat. And then come back over. I realize that the markings are now on the inside, but if they're dark enough, you can just see the shadow on the outside. A lot of people are going to tell you this is not the right way to do it. I'll tell you this is going to be the fast way to do it. You would take it, and starting with the center back, you would take your ruler and mark off 3/8 of an inch. These are going to be your casing lines, like so. You're going to leave between this line and your next casing line 5/8 of an inch. This is so that you have enough room for your grommets to fit. You're going to go all the way to either end, and then you're going to start again. All the way to the end. Once you get to about here, you're going to refer to your pattern piece, and you see that it's got a little stitch line there. You're going to take your pattern, turn it over so that center backs line up. You're going to find where your line is, and you're going to make little hash marks at the top and bottom. So you get a reference point to mark this for you. When you get to this end, you want it going, following the same lines that you have going here. So you would start from this end and go 3/8, 5/8, and 3/8. And the reason why you're doing this is because you're going to grommet the side seams of your corset. Now, usually you would stop here and keep going with another step, but I like to give myself a little bit of clearance between seams that are going this way and seams that are going diagonal. So we're going to do a 1/8 of an inch track to stabilize your bones going this way from the ones that are going diagonal to them. So of course, you would stripe all of this. So this is the front, obviously, but for purposes, this is what you're going to have. You're going to have stitch lines that run up and down the lines that you've marked. Then, as we feed our cording through it, you're going to see that it fills out and makes this sort of denser panel. You would take this to the machine, you would stitch all of your lines down, but you would stop before you got to this end. As we move again to the front part, you'll notice that I've made a rather large buttonhole. This is so that the busk that we made out of plastic can slide in easily between the two tracks that you have stitched down. So once you have this all stitched up, you're going to take a tube turner. You're going to tape down the little hooky bit so that the latch does not come up, so all you have is a nice hook. You're going to feed it in between the layers. Might have to scrunch up your fabric, that's totally fine, like that. You're then going to you're going to take some tape and wrap the end so that it becomes a little aglet almost, like a shoelace. And then you're going to feed it into the hole and pull it through using your turner. Now, you want at least 1.5 inches from the bottom and at least 1 inch from the top. So, what you're going to do before you cut, you're going to take some more tape, go up here, wrap your next starting point, then you're going to take your scissors and cut right at your tape line. That way you have one bound edge and one free edge. It doesn't hurt your fabric at all. It doesn't hurt, it's going to unravel a little bit, but your stay stitching later will stop it. So you're going to do that all the way till you get to your little weird diagonal bits. And again, remember to leave yourself enough on this edge so that you can pull it through if you need to or if it shifts. So again, tape. Doesn't have to be pretty, this is getting lopped off anyway. Like so. Okay, so once you have everything done, you're going to go in and you're going to pin down the cording so that it stays in a straight line with the channels that you're doing. Now this is where the good sewing machine comes in. You need a good, strong sewing machine to get through this really thick layer. So being careful, follow the line. It's okay if it warps, don't worry about it. Snip off the edge. Snip off the edge. So there, you've locked all of your cording in place. Next we're going to open it up, make sure that your cords are loose, and carefully trim them off. So the next thing you're going to do is take your ruler and at a 1/2 inch, like it's marked off on your pattern, you're going to go back and re-establish your stitch line. For those of you out there that are gasping in horror, yes, I know that I'm writing on the right side of the fabric. It's okay. We're going to go back and we're going to bind the edge, so nobody's ever going to see it. You're going to do the same thing to the bottom. You're going to come back in and at 1/8 of an inch from your stitch line, you're going to make another stitch line. Why, you say? Because it will hold everything really nice when you go to bind it. Again, what you do to the top, you do to the bottom. Cut off the excess seam allowance close to the second stitch line without cutting through it. Stitch it all down, or since we're binding the edge anyway, we can just bind this edge as well. And that's your front part. See? For the back, you do the same thing. All your vertical lines, then you're going to do your diagonal line, feed in the last two, and do your safety stitching. However, for this part, before you do the safety stitching for this part, you go back and you run your stitch line, and then you go back and you go 1/8 of an inch down. Once you do that, it's safe to do your safety stitching all the way around. Or if you can find it in the roll, more power to you, but it should be either the wide single fold or the wide double fold. Anything smaller, you're going to run into problems. So it usually comes folded like this, or if not, it comes open like this. If it comes open like this, just take your iron, fold it in half, and iron it. So, starting with your favorite side, doesn't matter, 1.5 inches from the edge, and you're going to sandwich the edge of your corset just like that. Taking your pins, you're going to pin it in place. You're going to do this all the way around till you get to the end. When you get to this top corner of the tab, you just want to fold, do a little corner fold on either side, and just pin it in place. It doesn't matter, it's underwear, nobody's going to notice because clothing is going to be on top of it. So give yourself some seam allowance, again, 1.5 inches. Nothing over on this side because we're going to bind it. And then you're going to do the same to both pieces, front and the sides. You want to be careful, you're sewing through a lot of fabric. You do the same for all of your seam allowances on all of the pieces. So you're going to take the needle and thread, and you're going to stitch these down. And you're going to do the same to all of your other points. You're going to come in, line up your holes, and with a really sharp pencil, you're going to go in and mark where each dot is. And then, using a hole punch, you can open the holes, or you can use a manual hole punch, either one. Usually we use something that the punch can actually go through. You line up the punch with the hole, with the dot, making sure that the hole is all the way around the dot. You can use a hammer or a mallet. Fairly hard so that you get a hole. And you keep going till you get all of your holes in. And if you have little chads like these, just go in and snip them off. It's great. You have to have a grommet press. This is the anvil, this is the punch. Usually fits in like that. You need one that is the right size for your grommet. Put it on a surface that won't ding like our ironing board. You're going to put the male end on the outside. Fits like that. Line it up with your anvil. Then you're going to take your female side, put it on top of your male side, like that. So it's all sandwiched together. Then you're going to take your punch, you're going to line it up. Voila! You have a grommet. So you keep doing that for all of your holes. Well, here's your tab. This is going to go on the inside of your front piece. Making sure that your grain line is going in the same direction as your selvage. Same thing like the other pieces. Just pin everything in place. I'm sewing a little bit, lifting my presser foot. And then continuing to sew. So you're going to do it again at 1/8 of an inch from the edge. And then you would either zigzag this or you would run it through a serger, but just so you have a finished edge. Next, you're going to bind the edge, just like you did for the other pieces. So again, you're going to open up a little hole for a grommet, and then both of these get sewn onto the front. And you just slide your buskin, and you're done.